Animal Farm is based on the Russian Revolution and the tyranny that followed. Some of the key characters and plot points in the book represent actual people and events. Remember that while the story is very much a reaction to the Russian Revolution, its exploration of power and corruption tells us a lot about every government and serves as an important cautionary tale about the preservation of democracy and freedom. The Russian Revolution started in 1917. At the time, Russia was ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. The Russian people had endured centuries of oppression from the royal family, which was known as the House of Romanov. The rule of Tsar Nicholas II was characterized by unrest and violence. Even his coronation in 1896 was marked by tragedy. Almost 100,000 people gathered in a field outside Moscow, and when rumors spread that there wouldn't be enough food, there was a massive stampede that killed almost 1,300 people, earning him the nickname Bloody Nicholas. In 1904, Nicholas II dragged the Russian people into an unpopular war with Japan. Throughout the conflict, he maintained confidence in a Russian victory despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. At the time, Russia was also in the midst of an industrial revolution. Thousands of peasants had flocked to the cities to work in factories where they received little pay and endured terrible conditions. As a result, in 1905, as many as 50,000 demonstrators descended on the Winter Palace to present Tsar Nicholas II with a petition demanding better working conditions, improved wages, and an 8-hour day. In response, the Tsar sent 10,000 troops to meet the protesters. Shots were fired, and some historians estimate that up to 1,000 people were killed in the skirmishes and the ensuing panic. After terrible losses in World War I, the country was on the verge of collapse. It's estimated that 1.7 million Russian soldiers were killed in the war. Skyrocketing food prices and a bitter winter also contributed to the unrest. Tsar Nicholas abdicated the throne in 1917 and a provisional government was formed. The provisional government was very much sympathetic to the royals and the upper classes, what were called the bourgeois. In October of 1917, the Bolsheviks, a revolutionary socialist organisation led by Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky, took power. This led to a bloody and violent 5-year civil war between the Bolsheviks and the White Army, who represented the monarchy in the interests of the bourgeois. The Soviet Union was formed in the aftermath of the Russian Civil War. Vladimir Lenin, one of the leaders of the October Revolution, became its first leader. After his death in 1924 and a power struggle with Leon Trotsky, Joseph Stalin came to power and led the country for the next 30 years. Under Stalin, the Soviet Union became a repressive totalitarian regime. Stalin began a series of 5-year plans which saw the rapid industrialization of Russia. He set high targets for coal, steel, oil, and electricity. Factories that failed to meet quotas were criticised, and the government took increasingly repressive measures to increase output. Stalin dealt ruthlessly with his political opponents. Leon Trotsky was exiled and eventually assassinated in 1940. The Great Purge of 1937 and 1938 saw up to 1.2 million people killed. Many were sent to labour camps or gulags, where they were ultimately executed. The Moscow trials of 1938 involved the trial and execution of Stalin's high-profile political opponents. After threats and torture, many of these people confessed to crimes including treason. The Russian Secret Police, or NKVD, were instrumental in this process. Throughout Stalin's reign, propaganda was used to promote the Communist Party. Books, newspapers, films, radio and art all promoted the Soviet cause. When it comes to Animal Farm, many of the characters represent actual historical figures. Farmer Jones, the brutal, drunk and incompetent owner of Manor Farm, represents Tsar Nicholas II. His callousness and neglect leads to the revolution early in the novel. The wise and benevolent pig, Old Major, is an obvious representation of German philosopher Karl Marx, who developed the idea of communism, the notion that the working class would eventually rise up and seize control, creating a classless society where wealth is shared. In the novel, the pig Snowball represents Leon Trotsky. Trotsky was a key figure in the Russian Revolution. After the death of Vladimir Lenin, who was leader of the Communist Party, there was a leadership struggle between Trotsky and Stalin. Defeated, Trotsky lived the rest of his life in exile, where he was ultimately assassinated. Napoleon, the ruthless leader of Animal Farm, is clearly a representation of Joseph Stalin and his brutal leadership of the Soviet Union. There are a number of small characters as well. The vain mare Molly, who represents the bourgeois sympathetic to Tsar Nicholas II. Boxer, who represents the hard-working people of the Soviet Union. The tame raven Moses, who stands in for the Russian Orthodox Church. And Foxwood and Pinchfield, who represent Britain and Germany. There are many parallels between history and the characters and events in the novel. We'll talk more about these as we study the book, but at this stage, what's important to remember is that we're still talking about Animal Farm because its lessons about power and corruption continue to have relevance.